Hello again, everyone. My name is David Bastel, and this is the Real Estate Edition podcast. On this episode, we chat with the CEO of Souqh, Ahmer Rafiq. He tells us about an end-to-end solution to help real estate agents and buyers alike with the home transaction process. One vetted marketplace for all people. But before we get to that interview, be sure to rate and review the Real Estate Edition podcast wherever you're listening today, and we thank you for it. Now, our interview with Ahmer.
You're listening to this month's episode of The Real Estate Edition with host David Bastel.
Ahmer, so good to speak to you. Before we get into everything, Souqh, and we really want to dig into this deep because it's an amazing project that you have here, and it continues to grow today. Let's start off by telling our listeners about yourself and how you kind of got into the role today, because I know there's a big background before Souqh erupted onto the scene, so to speak.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So really, a lot of my professional experience prior to Souqh was focused around technology consulting and delivering digital transformations. But during the last 15 years in my professional career, I was also actively involved in a lot of real estate transactions. So it's pre-construction condos, personal investments, purchase and sale. And the more I went through those transactions from a customer perspective, I really started to see a gap where the technology had moved so far along in so many different industries. But when we looked at the experience that consumers were facing when they're looking to make, the biggest transaction of their life, it felt like there were a lot of gaps in terms of, the coordination, the keeping up in terms of all of the tasks that are required when you're looking to buy a home, the number of people that you need to coordinate with, the number of, activities that are required. So really, that's what, in the height of the pandemic is when we started speaking with a lot of home buyers and owners, understanding the challenges that they're going through in terms of, the virtual way of doing business. And that's when we realized that, it's not just us, but a lot of home buyers and owners go through the same challenges. And that's when we, decided to start Souqh with the mission of simplifying the home ownership journey and bringing everything together in one place.
Yeah, and let's dig into that because you kind of touched on my next question a little bit, but I want to dig a little bit deeper here with you. Tell us more about Souqh exactly, and you kind of touched on when it first started, but the inspiration behind it, you touched on it a little bit, but I want to know about how that inspired you to develop this kind of platform because it seems to have really taken its own and it keeps on building, and I kind of want to more about that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So, a lot of us use marketplaces every day for a lot of common things like shopping on Amazon, for a lot of things that we order. During the pandemic, people were ordering groceries from Instacart and Uber Eats, ordering food from many different online channels. So the more we continue to use these platforms, the more we saw a gap for the customer that was still reliant on phone calls, emails, messages, and a lot of manual coordination to go through a very overwhelming process in their life. And that's really what led us to simplify that journey and bring everyone together in one place. So that was really the main reason we decided to work and create Souqh in terms of one vetted marketplace where a home buyer and owner can come and pretty much connect with all the type of service providers they need for their home buying or ownership journey. And it's not just a directory where you can find people. It's a fully transactional marketplace. So that means as a home buyer, I can find a realtor, I can book my showings, I can schedule my appointments, I can upload an e-sign documents, I can find a mortgage broker, I can get fully pre-qualified by submitting my documents in one place. And then once my qualifications are completed, I can even find a lawyer on the same platform. I can go through a full virtual closing, and when I'm ready to move into my home, pretty much find a mover, pay them, get into my home. And once I'm into my home, everything to do with home improvement is all in one place. So really, that's That's the distinguishing factor behind Souq, where we're trying to create one place for the consumer as well as everyone that's involved in the transaction to coexist, collaborate, and go through a much more digitized experience.
End-to-end solution, basically.
Absolutely.
What's the goal? What's the goal when you put this together and you think to yourself, okay, because you kind of outlined everything there, but the personal goal of the company itself.
Yeah, the personal goal and vision is really to simplify the homeownership experience. It's challenging as is when you're looking to purchase your first home, or you're looking to sell your property. There's so many external factors that are affecting you, but at least we should be able to use technology in a way that makes the lives of everyone involved easier and less stressful. So that's really what we want to give back to Canadians, a much more simplified homeownership experience, and the use of technology to make their lives easier.
So, out of curiosity, the origin of the company name for everybody listening today, and they'll see it on the media posts that we put out on social, spelt Souqh, pronounced Souk, but the origin of the name, and how do you come up with that?
Yeah, funny story behind that. So, coming up with the name behind any startup is always a challenging process.
It is.
But the main, drive behind our platform is really to create one sort of a one digital platform that brings everything together. And really, marketplace is, are achieving that functionality today, where consumers are gravitate towards marketplaces, and the meaning of the word souk actually is marketplace. So in a lot of prominent languages like Hebrew, Arabic, and others, marketplace translates into souk, and that's really what we're building, one marketplace that allows consumers to come and find everyone.
Very clever. Very clever.
Thank
Diving a
you.
little bit more into the specifics. So, how is Souk different for realtors versus consumers? Because it fits everybody in that equation, but let's deal with the differences between the two parties.
Yeah, sure. So for realtors specifically, Souk brings everyone that they work with in one place. So the realtor typically has, their preferred mortgage brokers, law firms, inspectors, movers, and different trades that they work with along with the client. So what Souk does is it basically brings everyone that's involved in the transaction together in one digital platform that helps really streamline that overall end-to-end experience for them. But at the same time, what we're noticing is because we're a marketplace, we're getting a lot of traffic for, home buyers and owners that are looking to connect with real estate professionals and find them with regards to different areas of specialization, different demographic regions. Like we're just working through one partnership with a company. I can't, publicly name the name right now, where they're getting over 1,000, newcomers into Canada that are looking to connect with realtors to find properties to lease. Now, a lot of these newcomers don't really know how to connect with these realtors. They don't really know the areas that they specialize in. A lot of them have language related barriers. So we're working on a partnership that would basically allow those newcomers to be able to connect with realtors in their area to help them find their first home to lease, and then hopefully down the road a home to purchase. But apart from that, a lot of consumers are coming to our platform today to find, real estate professionals. Our traffic is up to about 15,000 visits on a monthly basis, and a lot of unique visitors. So this way, realtors can actually generate new business just by being on our marketplace. Apart from that, because all of the technology that realtors are using today, such as e-signatures, calendar management, video conferencing, document management, digital marketing, they're using different platforms and different tools to achieve those goals. We've basically built all of these tools in one platform. So what we're noticing is realtors are actually saving a lot of time, and they're saving cost if they're paying for those tools. Now they're actually using our digital platform. On average, we're seeing, Dave, about 15 hours of savings for realtors that are actively using our platform on a monthly basis. And that's a lot of time that you can get back and put into strategic initiatives and creating those long lasting relationships. And I think lastly, the benefit that we're also seeing a lot of realtors talk about is maintaining that relationship with their clients post close. Because you've worked with a lot of clients, but after the transaction completes, it often gets difficult to maintain that relationship. You could be sending them an occasional postcard, or hey, there's this new project coming up, but you're not really organically able to maintain that relationship. So because Souq is a marketplace that helps the consumer post their home buying journey when they become homeowners, even if clients do a home renovation project where they've renovated their kitchen, or they've installed a pool, or they've done any work around their homes, the realtor can actually opt in to receive those notifications. And this way they always have a way to reach back to their client, and be that advisor that tells them about what this particular renovation has done to their property value, what their home is worth, or anything else basically the consumer wants to learn about as they're making those changes. So we're also noticing that realtors are able to maintain that organic relationship with their clients, because now they can keep in touch with them post their home buying journey. So that's sort of the value proposition that we see for realtors, where they're able to generate leads, they're able to save time, they're able to save expenses. They have a way to maintain those relationships post close. And another really good example is the ability to share and track their referrals. So realtors,
Mhm.
on an ongoing basis, are referring a lot of people in their network. But they don't really know how clients are using them or what type of feedback they have, right? So using our platform, realtors can actually indicate their preferred vendors. And when I go to a storefront for any realtor, I can actually see who their preferred partners are. I can see their storefront. I can see their reviews. Basically, everything as a consumer that I need to make my decision about a particular vendor, I have it in one place. So we're seeing that a lot of realtors are benefiting from the ability to share and track referrals using Souq.
Yeah, it's a ton of benefits there for the realtor. So you really gave a great description of the realtor side of things. So on the other hand, why would a consumer choose Souk as well? Because there's obviously similar type benefits, but maybe dig more into the consumer side of things, if you please.
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, Souk is completely free for any home buyer or owner to use. So that means they don't have to pay anything to use it. The main benefits that we see for consumers, number one, they can come to one platform to find all of the service providers across their home ownership journey. It's a vetted marketplace where we go through extensive due diligence whenever we bring on any vendors. And while they're on the platform as well, we continue to review their ratings and their performance to make sure that we're bringing those trusted vendors and making them accessible to home buyers and owners. Apart from that, everything to do with collaboration right now happens over emails, phone calls, messages, e-signatures, and a lot of that is spread out in so many different places. With Souk, the benefit for the home buyer is that they basically just need to come to one platform to communicate, to collaborate, to share documents, to sign documents, to schedule. So it makes the life of the consumer a lot easier. For example, I was looking for my purchase and sale agreement, which my realtor sent me 2 years ago for an investment property, and they use a popular e-sign tool. But I had to dig through my inbox to find that email, and then when I clicked on that link, the link is expired. So I'm
Of
like,
course.
okay, I don't have that document anymore, right? So this happens very often, where when we're going back and trying to look for documents, whether it be for home renovation projects we've done, or the purchase of our own property, it's always spread in so many different places. The benefit for consumers when they're using Souk is everything is in one place. So all of my home purchase documents, my closing documents, my approval documents, and then all of the work that I'm doing in my home, we have the concept of this home history report, where similar to your Carfax, right? All the work that you've done in your car, when it was serviced, any repairs that were done, who did them, when did they do it. Whenever a consumer uses Souk, all of the work that they're doing automatically gets stored on our platform. So the invoices, the warranties, when was the furnace replaced, when was the roof redone, because those are some of the typical questions that your realtor will typically ask you, or your insurance company will ask you when you're moving into your home. And 9 out of 10 times people don't recall those things. They don't know where those documents are.
Of
So
course
it,
not.
it, it offers a lot of utility and convenience to home buyers and owners when they can just use one platform to manage all of those documents. And I think the last benefit that we're really seeing a lot of home buyers talk about is the ability to save and earn credits. So the way that works is anytime you pay on Souq with your credit card to a vendor that accepts payment, we actually give consumers a credit back that they can use for their next service. So maybe when you were, working on your purchase, your realtor onboarded you to Souq, we actually give them credits just to come onto the platform. You use those credits towards your movers, you paid them. Now you actually have a credit that you can use for your cleaners, for example, if you want to get cleaning services done. And every time you basically use the platform, you continue to accrue credits that you can use for future services. So not only is the platform free to use, it's giving you a lot of utility and convenience, but it's also helping you, save money and time by getting these jobs done quicker and with trusted professionals.
I like, and I kind of want to touch on this quickly before we continue. I like that Souk will vet vendors because you just don't allow anybody on there. That's obviously you kind of take some pride in that because if you have a company on your site, you want to make sure that this is an A1 type of service or company, whatever it is, to
Yeah.
when people actually are looking for whatever project they're working on or whatever sort of service that they need.
Absolutely. So we go through a three-step process. So it's an open marketplace. So if a service provider wants to join, they can definitely register on the platform. It's very quick to register. But once they register, we actually go through due diligence. We look at their reviews, their licensing information, their ratings online, anything that we can pretty much find online about them. And then once we go through that due diligence, that's when we bring the service provider onto the platform. But it doesn't stop there, right? We want to make sure, similar to the way Uber and these other platforms work, where every time you complete a service, you provide a rating. So we basically use a similar process where every time a service provider completes a transaction with a customer, there's a rating that we're able to see for that service. And all service providers need to maintain a certain level of rating to remain on the platform. And if we see that any particular vendor is falling off, then we are basically able to put them on a probationary period, work with them, and if we continuously see that they're not getting good ratings, essentially remove them from the platform.
Yeah, it's a very, very good idea. So, moving on here for a second, you touched on a little bit of this, but if people are curious about the Souk platform, the key differences between going about the home transaction process in a traditional way versus Souk. I really like the idea off the top of my head because when you mentioned finding documents, you're reading my mind because sometimes you sit there and you go, oh, okay, I have those papers. It was back in 2015, I think.
Hmm.
2016. I'm not sure what it is, but of course,
Right.
on this platform, voila, you have it. Now that's just one of them. What else is the differences between the traditional way that a lot of people are going through and surely are probably looking more on your platform nowadays?
Yeah, for sure. So, let's start from the very beginning. Typically, when you start working with a realtor, right, the realtor will ask you to, hey, can you email me your driver's license? Can we send me your spouse's information? And then once they do that, they're gonna send them some documents to sign, hopefully by e-sign by now, and
Yeah.
not through any physical signatures. And then, they'll start the process of, getting the criterias that they're looking for through emails and phones. But all of this time, most of the communication that's happening is really spread across phone calls, emails, messages, and different tools. And the same thing happens when that customer has to start working with the mortgage broker. They have to email them all the documents, and there's a ton of documents that you have to send to the mortgage broker. And then the same thing happens when you start working with the lawyer, right? You have to email them all of these documents. So there's a lot of emailing going on. There's a lot of shared documents that are really required between these people that are sent through emails. There's lots of appointments, schedules that you need to keep on top of. And it can just get, messy and overwhelming in the traditional process. So the way Souk differentiates it is from the time a realtor onboards their client on Souk, everything that they need shows up as basically action items that the customer needs to complete. So if it's a driver's license, they need to upload. If it's a document they need to sign, everything is in one place. And then once they've uploaded a document, the realtor can just recommend the mortgage brokers, the law firms, the inspectors, the movers on the same platform. Customers can just check out their storefronts, they can see who they want to work with. And now, when they start working with any new vendor, they can actually see the document names already on Souqh that the customer has uploaded. So I don't need to email the customer and be like, hey, can you send me your driver's license? Can you send me the APS, right? You can see the document names, and the mortgage broker can just request access to the documents that they need. The law firm, when the mortgage instructions come through, they get a notification saying, hey, the APS has been finalized, the mortgage instructions are ready. They don't need to reach out to the realtor or the client. So it basically streamlines the entire process in one place. It makes collaboration more simplified and streamlined. And everyone that's working in the transaction can pretty much message each other, have video conferences, call each other, and all the information that is needed to facilitate those transactions are all in Souqh. So that's really where we're seeing that difference, where the collaboration piece, the streamlining, and now the customer actually has a portal that they can use to work with all of these people that are involved in the transaction, as opposed to just emailing, phone calls back and forth, and chasing the way things are typically done. And to end this, one of our investors, funny enough, they said this. Look, they said, I bought my home 15 years ago, and then 15 years after, when they were looking to buy their next home, they said the only thing that I really felt was different was the introduction of e-signatures from my perspective. And everything else, 15 years after, has pretty much remained the same. And, despite all of the advancements in prop tech, a lot of the focus has really been on the vendors, but the customers are still seeing phone calls, emails, and messages, right? And that's what we're trying to get ahead of, where we want to provide that one digital platform that customers can use to basically go through their entire home buying journey.
Yeah, very helpful for clients during that period. So let's look ahead a little bit. You kind of talked about how things haven't changed much for some, but we are in a changing marketplace with everything in life. So how do you see the industry changing within the next 10 years, in your opinion? So we're already talking about the 2030s, so to speak, and
Right.
how do you forecast that?
Yeah, so the prop tech space is exploding. I want to say in North America. I was at an event hosted by the Prop Tech Collective, which is a Canadian organization. If we look at just the last, in Canada alone, there's about over 400 prop tech companies. And Dave, you'll be surprised that in the last 2 years, we had over 200 new prop tech companies just in the last 2 years during the pandemic, right? So
Wow.
that tells you how much movement there's going on within the property technology space. So there's obviously a lot happening. And if we look at things like around virtualization, around 3D marketplaces, around co-ownership models, around digital marketplaces. These are some of the areas where we're seeing a lot of movement when it comes to the real estate, space. Specifically, when it comes to digitization, I do think there's a lot of room for growth, especially for customer-facing technologies. I do think we have a lot of great tools that realtors are using on a day-to-day basis, but the customer is still not getting most of that benefit. So I really see a lot of technology being focused on sort of enhancing that relationship between the client and the realtor, and making the collaboration, making the scheduling processes, making the viewing processes a lot more digitized. We're seeing 3D marketplaces that are coming up. We're seeing the entrance of the metaverse within real estate, NFTs, and I do think, right, a lot of these technologies are going to make a big difference in terms of how real estate is done. We're, on our end, we're exploring tokenization, where similar to, a VIN number on a car that you can pull up, you can see the history. Because we have the home history report, we can invest into tokenization, and pretty much anyone that, has that token for that particular listing, it could be, the realtor, they could, for example, see all of the history behind that home in terms of home improvement, right? So I do think there's a lot of digitization that's coming to improve the quality of service and the sort of coordination that happens across different events. And then, we're really excited to be in this space. I think it's a great time for Canadian prop tech companies.
Yeah, it really seems to be that way. So, okay, digging a little bit closer at home with Souk, the future plans, your future plans in business. What would you like to expand or add things to the platform, or are we kind of set in place at Souk? Because I get the feeling just knowing you here during this conversation, there always seems to be something brewing. So I'm kind of curious on what sort of uh, you know. I guess extras you can see happening at Souk.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a lot happening. I mean, just for some timeline. So we actually launched our beta platform in November of last year. We were getting about 1,000 hits, and this is only focused in GTA. And then just 7 8 months, we're at about 15x in terms of growth, in terms of being across Ontario. We've been working actually with OREA, and a lot of the boards across Ontario have now started to partner with us. So we're partnering with about 8 different real estate boards across Ontario. We have a queue of about 2,500 realtors that we're actually onboarding onto Souk over the next few weeks. And once we feel like we have a good stand in Ontario, we obviously want to expand to other markets such as BC's, Alberta, and eventually all across Canada. So the first goal, is to have good supply on our platform for Canadians to be able to come and find vendors all across Ontario, and then penetrate into other markets in terms of product growth. But there are a lot of features that we're working on, such as we know open bidding is coming next year. And our platform, the way it's built, it really brings everyone together in one place, and the customer can actually see a lot of different documents. So that's something that we're looking into in terms of exploring the open bidding process and seeing how we can facilitate that. We're looking at features around being able to broadcast service requests. So if I have 50 plumbers on Souk, I'm not going to be able to go and look through all 50 profiles, right? So we're working on a feature where, as a homeowner, I can just go and put in a broadcast request where this is my budget, this is the timeline I'm looking to get that service done, and this is my location, and it basically broadcasts that request out to everyone that's on the platform, and then the people that match those criteria can basically bid on that particular service, right? So the same idea goes for realtors as well. Like if I have a client that's looking to purchase a home, and they need it in the next 30 days, this is their budget, they're pre-approved, we'll send that broadcast lead to pretty much all the realtors in that area that match that request, and then they'll be able to work directly with the customers. So there are a few things that we're focusing on in terms of increasing the overall engagement on our platform and facilitating that process to be a lot more easier for home buyers. And again, keeping up with all these changes, I feel like it's continually evolving. Every 30 days, we're reassessing our product roadmap in terms of what are the features that we think are going to bring the most value to Canadians, and we're excited to continue going down that path.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time. So, just as a wrap up quickly, if anybody wants to sign up on the site, where do you find the site? As you mentioned, for real estate agents, for consumers, for homeowners, anybody that owns a home, rents a home, leases a home, anything like that. So it's a large piece of our population. Where do they find you, and how do they sign up exactly?
Yeah, so if they go to souq.ca, souqh.ca, just on the top right of our website, they'll be able to see the login button. If they're a home buyer or owner, they can basically create their account in less than 60 seconds, works with Gmail or Facebook or any other platforms they use. And similarly for any other service providers such as realtors, they also are able to log in and sign up in the same, using the same URL. Registration takes less than 60 seconds, and we actually provide a hands-free onboarding process. So our marketing team actually goes in, They do a lot of the initial research and setup of the account because we understand, realtors are very busy. So we don't want to increase work for them. We like to, do as much of the setup and onboarding as possible. And then once their account is set up, we basically have, training sessions where we share with them how the platform works, and they can get up and running in as soon as, 24 hours.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dave. It was a pleasure being here.
Before we go, I want to remind you that all OREA members and their families have access to LifeWorks, a well-being solution that provides users with 24/7 access to counselors, specialists, and self-guided resources for dealing with all of life's moments. Visit OREA.com/LifeWorks for more information and to access the service. And I have some exciting news to share. OREA's Reality Plus conference is coming to Toronto in November 2022, and you won't want to miss it. It is going to be the only conference of its kind bringing together the greatest minds in real estate, politics, and marketing all on one stage. And you won't believe the speakers we have lined up. Register now for the event everyone will be talking about at realityconference.ca. And finally, don't forget to check out realheart.ca to read the inspiring stories of realtors giving back to their communities and to share your story. That's realheart.ca. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Real Estate Edition podcast. My name is David Bastel. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Visit OREA.com/podcast for more information, links, and a full list of our episodes to date. New episodes are out the second Tuesday of every month.